This is lesson 18, multiplying complex numbers. So we've talked about imaginary numbers, how we get them. Take a square root of a negative number, and then you get an imaginary number, right? So, and if we have imaginary numbers and real numbers together, they're called complex numbers. And we're going to add and subtract them. Today we're going to learn how to multiply them, okay? One thing that we need to know or talk about is I. We know that I to the first power is going to just be equal to itself, I, right? We know that I squared is equal to I times I, and I times I is equal to negative 1, okay? I cubed is just like saying I times I, which is like saying I squared times I, or negative 1 times I, or it's just equal to negative I, okay? Follow me so far? Okay, next, I to the fourth is just like saying I squared times I squared. We know that I squared is negative 1, so it's like saying negative 1 times negative 1, which is equal to positive 1. You follow me so far?
Yes.
Okay, what happens if I have I to the fifth? Look up here. I to the fifth is like saying I to the fourth times I, right? Would you all agree with me?
Yes.
I to the fourth is positive 1. What's positive 1 times I? I, right? What about I to the sixth? Isn't I to the sixth just like saying I to the fourth times I squared? Isn't I to the fourth equal to 1? I squared is equal to? To what? Negative 1. What's 1 times negative 1? Negative 1. Do you see how it's repeating itself? Do y'all see that? Okay. What do you think I to the seventh is going to be then? Negative I, right? Because it's like saying I to the fourth times I to the third, which is just like saying 1 times negative I, right? Which is just negative I. So what do you think I to the eighth is? What? I, right? Because it's going to be I to the fourth times I to the fourth, which is just equal to 1. One times 1. Okay? You follow me so far? Okay, so what happens if I get a big number like I to the 29th? Or I to the 11th? Okay? Okay, so look at the steps here. So we got, look at step 3. Divide the exponent of the imaginary number by 4 and find the remainder. And then I give you a list of different remainders. So even if we had like I to the 6th, we know I to the 6th is equal to negative 1. So the way we figure it out, we take the remainder. Let's say we had I to the 6th. Sorry about that. I to the 6th, right? We take the exponent and divide it by 4. And we know I to the 6th should be really equal to I squared, right? So it just goes in once. 1 times 4 is 4. And we specifically look at our remainder. Our remainder is 2. Okay? So I to the 6th is like saying I squared. Okay? So I squared, we know this is going to be I squared, which is really equal to negative 1. Does that make sense? Or let's say we had a bigger I. Let's say we had I to the 29th. Okay? I to the 29th, you take 29 and you divide by 4. It goes in 7 times. 7 times 4 is 28. What's our remainder on this one? 1. So we know that I to the 29th is the same thing as I to the first, which is just I, right? You see that? Because sometimes you have really big problems where it's going to be I to the like 342, right? And you're like, oh, what is that going to be? Okay, are you going to make a big list that's 342 I's long? Yes or no? No, that's ridiculous. So what are you going to do?
Can't you just count down to 29 or 6 on the numbers?
But what if I have 342? Are you going to count down?
No.
No. So the shortcut is you're going to divide 342 divided by 4. Goes in 8 times 4 is 32. Subtract, you get 2. 22 goes in 5 times. And my remainder, that's what I'm looking at. My remainder is 2. So we know Yeah, exactly. 342 is just like saying I squared, which is equal to negative 1. You all see that? Okay, so you just need to know the shortcut. This is like a side shortcut, okay? Just division, okay? This is kind of a basic thing you need to know because we're going to simplify i's today, and we're going to do really easy ones today, but when we get harder ones that are going to be on your test or quiz or in the future, you just need to know how to simplify it, okay? That's not the basis of the lesson. Today's goal is to multiply complex numbers, okay? So that's just kind of like a background piece of skill that you need to know, okay? Here we go. Numbers 1 and 2, watch carefully. So multiply. 10 times negative 9 is going to be negative 90. 10 times negative 11i is what? Negative 110i. Can I simplify anything else? Nope, that's it. That's number 1. Number 2, let's pretend it's, this is 2 binomials, okay? Pretend the I is a variable, okay? Don't worry about it. This one's a little more difficult. Look carefully. So you got negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Negative 3 times 3i is negative 9i. 4i times 1 is positive 4i. 4i times positive 3 is positive 12i squared, okay? You follow me so far? Okay, then we combine like terms. I can combine these two terms together, making this equal to negative 5i. Negative 3 stays in the front, and positive 12i squared is in the back. Okay, let's focus on this term right here, 12i squared. Okay, 12i squared, what's I squared equal to? So isn't this just like saying 12 times negative 1? Would you agree with me? What's 12 times negative 1? Negative 12. Okay, so we have negative 12, bring the rest down, negative 5i, and negative 3. Okay, then we still have to simplify. Negative 3 minus 12 is negative 15 minus 5i. That's it. Okay, so it takes a little bit more work, right? Because 2i squared is going to be equal to negative 1. Yep.
So if, like, when you do the exponent, it becomes a number, it's not imaginary anymore?
Yeah, it does. When does it become a real number? When it's I squared, right? Or I to the 4th, right? Good question. So sometimes, that's a really good question, because sometimes you multiply imaginary numbers together and you get real numbers. Okay? Okay? Any questions? Okay, so what I'd like you to do is to talk about the number 1, one's talk about number 2. Ready, set, go. Continuing on number 3, here we go. Negative 11i squared. So remember, we have the squared terms on the outside, so you have, this is really like saying negative 11i times negative 11i. Okay, ready, go. Number 3, we have negative 11 times negative 11 is positive 121. I times I is I squared. I squared is equal to what? Negative 1. So this is like saying 121 times negative 1, which is negative 121. Did y'all get that? Okay. I like hearing the, oh, I heard that. That's great. That's a good thing for teachers to hear. That's called you're in the zone of proximal learning, or the proximal zone of learning. Yeah, something like that. So, okay, it's the aha moment. Ah. Okay, cool. There you go, number 4. Go. Okay, looks like most of you got it. There's a few people that got it wrong, okay? Just like a smidget of you. So look up here. You got 7 times 1 is 7. And you got 7 times 7i is positive 49i. We know 7 is a real number, so I can't combine it with 49i because that is an imaginary. And there's no I squared or I cubed, so we just leave I the way it is. That's your answer. Okay. So sometimes it's like a one-step thing. Okay? Next one. 5 and 6. It's a little bit more difficult. Let's look at 5 first, and I'll uncover 6. Go. Up here, check your work. Okay, first thing, negative 8. Oh, negative 8 times 1 is going to be negative 8. Negative 8 times 2i is negative 16i. Okay. 2i times 1 is positive 2i. 2i times 2i is positive 4i squared, okay? Let's do a couple steps on this next part. Combining like terms, we got negative 16i plus 2i is negative 14i. And then we know I squared is negative 1, so negative 1 times positive 4 is going to be negative 4, right? We still got the negative 8. So that negative 8 and negative 4 now they're both real numbers. We don't combine the I, so negative 8 minus 4 is negative 12, and then minus 14I. That's your answer, so that's it for number 5, okay? If you made a mistake, please fix it. Okay, if you almost got it, just check your work. That we make mistakes in here, not, you don't want to do it on the test, so. Here we go, next one. So it's okay if you made a mistake, just fix it. 6, go. Most of you got this right, okay? Probably like 95% of you got this right. So let's look up here. So looking up here, you got negative 7 times negative 7 is positive 49. Negative 7 times negative 6i is positive 42i. Negative 8 times negative 7 is positive 56i. And then negative 8 times negative 6 is positive 48i squared, okay? These two terms you could combine together. 42 plus 56 is 98i. And then over here, this term, I squared we know is going to be negative 1. So positive 48 times negative 1 is negative 48. All of a sudden it becomes a real number. And then 49 is in the front. This was positive 98i, right? So 48, oh, I'm sorry, that's 49. Fake out. 49. Okay, so now we got 49 minus 48. Those are both real numbers, so that becomes 1, right? Plus 98i. Okay? So that's your final answer. If you made a mistake, please fix it.
I thought the I squared was 1.
I squared is negative 1. I to the 4th is positive 1. So you have to get used to those. So I would make like a little list on the side of I to the 1st is I to the 2nd is negative 1, I to the 3rd is negative I. Yeah, what's cracking?
On the test, will we have to memorize those?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, but it's easy. You have to just think like, just make it like I to the 1st is I to the 2nd is negative 1, I to the 3rd is negative I to the 4th is positive 1, right? And then you just have to do that remainder thing. As long as you have those 4, you're good, right? That's not hard to memorize. You can do that. It's cupcakes, okay? And did you notice how on these problems, did you notice how even though you're multiplying i's, imaginaries, you're getting what kind of number after you multiply? A real number, right? Real number. Things are getting real. That's all I can say about that. Okay, so